Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Charitable Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And you know, it's that time of year where we're looking forward to the summer, but this year we're looking forward to the heat of the summer. We're always very glad for people to get out and enjoy what we love here in South Louisiana. A lot of times we're getting out on the water. We're lucky to have some experts here to make sure we can do that safely. I welcome in the studio, very excited about that, Captain Brendan Mathern, the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thanks for being here and present.
We appreciate the invite. It was nice to be able to finally be back in the studio for a change.
Very cool. Well, welcome back to the studio. Joining him, we have a couple of individuals that work with water safety for Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. We have John Chesson, Deputy Water Patrol. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Next to him, Mr. Reese Guidry, also Deputy Water Patrol. We're very glad to have y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
All right. Reese, let's start with you, man. How long have you been doing this? Tell us a little bit about Water Patrol for you.
I've been with the Sheriff's Department for approximately 4 years.
Okay.
I joined the Sheriff's Department, which goes to be on Water Patrol. This is
Okay.
what I always had a passion for water. I always had a passion for hunting and fishing.
Right.
And this is what I want to do, and I love what I do.
Very cool. Very cool. John, how about for you?
Going on about 5.5 years.
Okay.
At the Sheriff's Office.
Right.
And same as Reese, I grew up hunting and fishing, especially down towards Fourchon also. I mean, once they said we got a water patrol, that's what I knew I wanted to do.
I'm all in, right?
Yes, sir.
Very cool. I like it. You know, it's kind of funny to me. People say they can always do three things. People think they can do three things. Everybody thinks they can sing. Everybody thinks they can play tennis, and everybody thinks they can drive a boat. And as y'all know, that third option is probably not always the best option. But you know, it's just one of those things where we very often learn how to do those things. We learn by family, we learn by friends. But there's a lot of things we need to do and get ready for before the boat even gets connected to the truck. Let's just talk about some of those things we need to be prepared for before we get on the water.
Yes, sir. So one of the big things that we push for is a float plan, is
Okay.
what it's called. Basically, what you do is you're going to write it down or just tell somebody where you're going to fish, when you're leaving, what launch you're leaving from, who's going to be on the boat, and when you plan on coming back. And that way, if something does happen, we have an idea of where you're going to be at so we can go out and help you. Because that's one of the big things that we got to deal with a lot is a lot of rescues, broken down boaters, people stranded out. And we just need an area to start looking if we don't know where you are.
Yeah. Our waterways are way too vast to not have a general idea about where people are going. And now listen, I know there's a lot of fishermen out there going, I ain't telling them my favorite spot.
Yeah.
Listen, just give us an idea where
Yes,
you're
sir.
going. You know, tell us what lake you're going in. Tell us roughly where you're going to go. But you don't have to give away your trade secrets for where you catch the most fish.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What else do we need to do before we leave the house?
We want to make sure every person in the boat is accounted for with life jackets.
Okay.
Every person in the boat, 16 and under, is required to wear a life jacket. When boat is in operation, you want to make sure you weld your kill lane, the kill switch. If the driver was to go overboard, it will kill the motor of the boat. The boat won't keep going. It won't put other people in the water in danger.
Right.
There's safety equipment, fire extinguishers, throwables, horns or whistles. You want to make sure you have all that in your boat before you get in the water. Another thing we push is sober. Make sure you're sober when you're driving the boat. It's just like a car. It's a motorboat. You can't get a DWI.
Right.
So
And there's so many more unpredictables.
Correct.
You know, it's because interestingly enough, 2 days on the water, back to back, the flotons and the water lilies were dramatically different day two than they were day one.
yeah,
There are a couple of bayous we couldn't even get into. It's just like that with logs or those kinds of things. It is as if not more important to drive sober with a boat than it is in a car.
Yes, sir. And another thing is, while if you're over 16, you don't necessarily have to have one on while the boat's in operation. We strongly encourage you to, because if something happens that you fall off or fall overboard and something happens that you go unconscious, that way it still keeps you up.
Right.
And that's one of the big things that we push that, look, we wear ours every day.
Right.
Reese and I, every time we go on a boat, we have our life jackets on for that reason, just in case. And like you just said, everything's changing. Every
Right.
day we go out almost every day, Reese and I, and it's different.
Right.
The marsh is different every day. Everything moves.
Right.
So you don't know what you're driving into, especially after Hurricane Ida.
That's exactly
And-
right. Things
and,
are different. Go ahead, Reese.
Another thing is, when you're driving a boat, be responsible. Everybody likes to go fast. Water is an unforgivable place. It's unpredictable. It's underestimated by a lot of people.
Right.
So, be responsible and, make good decisions when on the water, because you can be having the best time of your life on the water. It can turn into a tragedy real quick.
Right. In a second. I love the idea about making sure that people are wearing their life jackets. I will tell you, 6 of the 7 boaters that came in when we were docking all had life jackets on, all different ages, older men, younger men. I was very impressed. I want you to know the word's getting out. You got the job that y'all are doing, people are listening. And so that's a really good thing. And so we want safety this year. We want to make sure that you guys don't have to go out to do a rescue and have a terrible result. We'd rather just have a broken down boat where the wives at home or whomever at home knew where they were.
Yes,
They
sir.
reach out to you, you go tow them in, and guess what? We have a good positive result
Yes, sir.
from that.
And we just want to make sure that everybody says they got their safety equipment, check it, make sure it's up to date, make sure that stuff's not expired. I can't tell how many people we've pulled up on and said, "You got a fire extinguisher?" Yeah, and we look, it's expired, not charged.
Brendan, one of those things that we talked about, that water safety, but we're talking about boating safety, but water safety just as important, right?
Oh, no question. And this is the time of year that it's, most, people are enjoying swimming pools. They're going to the beach. And, like these guys alluded to, there's plenty of safety things that you have to know when you're on the boat. But not everybody owns a boat. Not everybody's going to get that opportunity to go in a boat or go fishing. A lot of people, though, do have access to swimming pools.
Right.
And even if you don't, maybe your neighbor has one. And what you need to be aware of as a parent or a guardian is that if your neighbor has a swimming pool, you basically have a swimming pool, and that you need to ensure that your children or any children that are visiting your house are well accounted for around that pool. I know our friends at the Blue Boot Foundation will often talk about a water watcher, or you have a water watcher card, making sure that you're paying attention to what's happening in the water. That's so important. One of the things that we talk about on any type of safety issue, like even in Halloween during trick-or-treating, we tell people, stay off your phones. You have to be watching your children. That's equally as important when they're in a pool. Again, there'll be time to send that text message or read that text message. Drowning happens so fast, and it doesn't happen like you see in the movies or on TV. It's a silent thing most of the time. So you have to have constant vigilance on what's happening in that pool.
And or if you have a pool and we've had damage around that with fences, we need to make sure that we don't have access to that pool from whomever.
Correct. Absolutely. A responsible homeowner that owns a pool is going to ensure that they have multiple redundancies, in other words, as far as safety and keeping pets and children out of those pool areas. But you always have to account for some of those things failing. Whether it's an above ground pool or an in-ground pool, it really doesn't matter. The same things apply. One of the biggest things that we caution is a lot of times people will leave swimming toys, diving toys, things like that in the pool. When a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old sees that, they don't know that it's in a situation that's going to get them in trouble. They just see a toy and they just want to run to it. So that's something important. Make sure you're keeping everything out of the pool, floating objects, anything like that. Just keep it out of the pool, stored away so that it doesn't lure an animal or a small child to the pool.
Yeah, and look, we got people like Joey Vining with Child Water Safety. They're more than glad to go and help you figure out if some changes have been made at your house. Give them a call. They'll be glad to help figure out how to make sure that you're keeping your place safe. They can call you as well, and making sure that we're preventing that next drowning. We don't want to have it.
No question. And look, a lot of home security systems now have motion detectors and things like that. But if it doesn't, if it's just a traditional camera, that's great for seeing what happened after the fact. It doesn't prevent. It's sort of like for crime. It doesn't necessarily prevent it. So if you do have a pool, having a motion detector camera might be a good investment.
I love it. And reminding those people, when you're done with the pool, much like when you're done with the boat, you want to pick it up the right way. Take all of those toys out of the pool. Be done with that. Be done with that pool session so that we don't have somebody who's going to go there and stay off your phones. It's like the distractions that people can have with driving. You're responsible for everybody at that house, and we've got to be responsible and accountable for those kids.
No
Really
question.
important to be able to do
Absolutely.
that. So some great recommendations. Let's talk a little bit about the checkpoints.
Yeah, so we have a checkpoint coming up this Friday. It's going to be both the seatbelt checkpoint and a DWI checkpoint going to be happening after. That's how we typically do some of our weekend checkpoints, especially during the summer as we get closer in and around the holidays that happen over the summer. We know that with these guys talking about drinking and driving on the water, we understand that happens. We understand, unfortunately, that people choose to do the same. The idea behind these checkpoints is not to entrap people. We understand how social media works, and a lot of times, people wanting to let others know about our checkpoint will go on and post about it. For us, the thing is, by just announcing that we're having a checkpoint and it's going to be this Friday in Lafourche Parish, we're hoping that people get scared enough and into doing what they need to do. And this is a reminder of these traffic laws. It's amazing that we're in 2023 and people still think they forget to wear a seatbelt or they think they don't need to. And Louisiana does not have a great compliance law. We used to. We used to be one of the top, and now we're seeing that number start to dip a little bit more. But drinking and driving, the same thing. As far as our DWI checkpoint, we don't expect a ton of drunk people to be driving through where you have a bunch of police officers and lights flashing. But just the fact that it's out there, hopefully is going to stop you from and make sure that you do what you need to do in order to not drink and drive.
Well, and listen, I love the fact that you come on and want to talk about it. And the reason is because people don't realize that there's eustress and distress. Eustress is positive stress. That's the stress that says, hey, make sure your boat's ready before you go out. Hey, make sure you're being vigilant when there are people at your house. Positive stress, where we are stressed to the point that we do something differently. We don't want that to become a distressful situation where we're having some major event or we, avoid that checkpoint and or we're drinking and driving and something really bad happened. I love the fact that it's making people realize that we need to be accountable for that and holding them accountable.
And to
Some
kind
final
of
thoughts.
steal a line from our friends at Troop C, lots of people ask, well, how many is too many? Whether you're driving a boat, whether you're driving a car, one drink is too many. The bottom line is, before you leave the house, if you're going to plan to drink. If you plan to drink, plan to have someone drive, whether it's your boat or a car. Just make sure you get home safely and you're not endangering the lives of others out there.
That's exactly right. So some wonderful information on programs today. Reese and John, thank you so much for what y'all do on the water every day. I know you love it, but we're very glad that you're out there keeping everybody on the water safe. We appreciate that. Captain Brennan, we thank you so much for sharing your updates and information through the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thanks for all that you do every day.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on HTV.